Welcome back, Warriors, to this lesson in baseball. Today's subject is all about throwing harder. How do we throw hard? Throwing hard is very important for the success of the program. High velos equal high strikeout rates, and if we can stop teams from even putting the ball in play, we set ourselves up for quite a bit of success. Today I'll review the 4 key areas of throwing development: technique, strength, flexibility, and speed. Technique, strength, flexibility, and rotational speed. To do that, I'll call upon Brent Porceau of Top Velocity to break down the kinetic chain. We'll show you footage from Eric Cressy, a little deviation from the standard deadlift. We'll show you footage from pro player and coach Robbie breaking down the flexibility in the hips. And we'll get to Antonio Andrade for the rotational speed. One drill from Antonio. And you watch these, you think about it, you implement it, and I know you guys will be throwing harder in no time. Now let's begin with Mr. Brent Porceau from Top Velocity.
Ankle or your knee's going to turn, your hip's going to extend, your trunk's going to delay, then that'll deliver your shoulder deliver your elbow deliver your wrist. That's the kinetic sequence, right? We talk about that. If you want it to be delivered in that sequence, you're going to have to load it to the opposite side in that sequence. So meaning it would be incorrect just to take my arm straight up, because now I'm loading to that cocked position from the top first. I want to load from the ground up. So how do I do that? Obviously, when I come set, the first thing I'm putting in the ground is my ankle. I want to get into the arch of my foot. I want to get into some supination of that foot. I want to turn external rotation in my femur, right? Notice I'm loading all the way up. I want to load my hip into flexion and external rotation and some abduction. Then I'm going to load my shoulder back against that. Notice how everything is turning against the previous joint. So the knee is turned against the ankle, the hips turned against the knee, the shoulder turns against the hip, and this is before we go into leg drive, coming out of leg lift. Then the elbow needs to load behind the shoulder into flexion and pinching and loading the scap. Then the arm is to go, and typically when we go into rotation, the layback is then the moment for the arm to load back and prepare itself. So the wrist or the hand segment is the last thing to load in the sequence, and that's the layback effect. So if the first thing you do when you break your hands is to go right up to that cocked position, you're now rushing ahead, you're missing all the links of the chain, you're not loading through the kinetic chain, and you're more than likely could fall into early external rotation, and you could start the end of the chain moving forward too early, which is very common in amateur pitchers. So think about that. If you're trying to drive the kinetic chain and use the kinetic chain to generate energy, you're going to have to load the kinetic chain the same way, ground up, not wrist up, and start the process too early. So quick little lesson for you to understand, just as important how you load the kinetic chain and then how you drive it or power it or sequence it to generate velocity. So hope that helps. If you have any questions, reach out to me.
Okay, real quick, this is Brent Porceau working with a young pitcher, telling him to stay back as his front foot lands, and don't transfer his weight too early here. Don't do that too early. Okay, you got to stay back here. Welcome back, everybody. That was Brent Porceau talking about the kinetic chain. Very important that you understand there's got to be an immediate feel in the lower part of your body working at the kinetic chain. It's almost like you can't be comfortable in the way that you come to your set. You got to already start the process of the induction, the supination, the feeling of the torque on your backside, so that when you get into leg lift, you're already starting to get there before you start moving down the mound. And trying to create separation, which we'll show you in a second, with Robbie and his hip flexibility. So it's very important. And then as your front foot lands, you should still be back. Don't be so eager to come forward with your upper body. Train yourself to stay back. Front foot lands. When your front foot lands, your arm should be up. And then you drive forward in the right sequence, coming forward, and now you've got more velocity coming out. I have taken some time to just go over to the gym and kind of check this out. And immediately I can feel like I'm throwing harder. So, very important that as your front foot lands, you're back here, and not coming out so quickly over your front side. All right. So now let's move into Eric Cressy, and just one rep, just one exercise. We know about the deadlift. We know it's important. There's a study that's out that pitchers who throw hard do well in the deadlift, the pull-ups, and the broad jump. Those three exercises tend to show us who is going to throw the hardest. The deadlift here is a little bit different. It's an offset deadlift, and it's sneakers off. Okay, you should feel more stability in your lower half, in your feet, in your legs when you work out, or you lift without your shoes on. Certainly, you want to have protection on your feet. They say that you can go out and get weightlifting shoes; those are available. But if you don't have those, a very good substitute would be like the Converse Flyers or whatever. The old school sneakers that even my father and people in the 50s and 60s grew up wearing. Those are great for weightlifting. Very just basic shoes. You really feel it in your feet. So this is an exercise that Eric has one of his players do. This player is now, I think, pitching at the University of Maryland. And so I'm going to show you that footage now. Okay, immediately you can see no sneakers. His feet aren't in line. Okay, he's got one foot that's dropped back just a little bit. Really good form here. His arms are in line with his legs. His chest and back are rising at the same rate that his legs are driving forward. And he's got the appropriate amount of thrust in his pelvis. All right, moving along quickly now, we go to Robbie Rowe and a breakdown of Clayton Kershaw. Low body movement, wide base, and then he's going to go right into a drill that he uses to create a little bit more flexibility in his hips. And you too can do this in the gym when you have an opportunity. Very important to have some flexibility. And so let's take a look.
So sinks, boom. Okay, now internal rotation, hip. Okay, so that knee is cracking inward now. And he's not jumping, right? He's not pressing off and shooting upward, right? It's maximum internal rotation and then energy forward, right? Maybe I draw too many lines there. Boom.
So if the hips elevate, now our energy is either happening early or it's happening up, okay? And if it goes up, then we're susceptible to this pushing arm action that we see a lot of times. At least this is something that I'm speaking from experience with working with clients and younger guys, is if we jump with that lower half, now we're going to elevate our external rotation of the hips or the hip movement capacity. If you go into your drive phase, right, and this lead leg, if you don't have that movement, it's going to pull this drive leg into early internal rotation, okay? Then you're going to leak a lot of velocity. You're going to leak a lot of energy. External rotation of the hips or the hip movement, sit, flow. So if you can, grab something to irradiate tension with. I got tennis balls here, or you can use like a med ball where you're holding it like this. I'm going to use the tennis balls because I got a mic, and now we're going to flow And this is, you're going to see the exact representation of a throw, like a pitching delivery, right? So remember, we're trying to create as much separation here. And now as I go into external rotation with the right leg, I'm going to try to keep the same amount of space as I have here between my knees the whole way. And again, squeezing these balls to irradiate tension, packing that air down here. So there's just this subtle thing here, right? That right there, it looks like as soon as you kind of start to internally rotate, it's a push up instead of just driving. And this is why I said I think there's a movement restriction, because that shouldn't happen. Okay, I think you're lacking a.
All right, that's really great stuff from Robbie Rowe, the flexibility in the hips. Whether you're a really flexible guy, like maybe like a Finn O'Driscoll, or maybe somebody who's not so flexible, it doesn't matter. You still got to work on your flexibility. Even the guys that are really flexible, as you continue to weight train and get bigger muscles in your legs, you're still going to have to rely upon some flexibility. So you're ahead of the curve, but that doesn't mean that you can just ignore it. All right, so now let's talk about the last piece, rotational speed. We do it with like heavier medicine ball training. We can also do it with a heavy ball in the hand if we hold it, or a weight in the hand if we hold it. If we throw it, that's bad. We don't want to do that. I'm not a proponent of that. But it doesn't matter. This drill is medicine ball. So let's take a look. This is Antonio Andrade footage. And it looks like maybe, I don't know, backyard batting cage. Let's take a look.
I feel like that was really close. Don't hit me. I feel like that was really close. Don't hit me.
All right, Warriors. So that was the side push. You can do side tosses like this. Try not to pull your head back so much. Stay over that and drive through the side toss. You can do overhead throws to the wall, and then you can do overhead slams to the ground. All four of those are really great for developing rotational speed and power. All right, so remember the 4 keys: technique, strength, flexibility, and speed. Take a look at this video over and over again. Some of these clips I got off of Instagram. Instagram is a great way for you guys to start learning more about how to play the game. So, of course, in this time of COVID, you guys should be looking for a lot of ways to get better and develop. Kudos once more to Brent Porceau. Check him out, Top Velocity on Instagram. We've got Eric Cressy, we've got Antonio Andrade, and then we got Robbie Rowe. Really great stuff from them. Hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. This is lesson number 3. Very excited to keep these going. And stay tuned. We are evaluating now whether or not we should restart individual development, but still probably another week or 2 to go before we make a call on that. So wishing you guys well. Stay warm, very cold out there, and stay hungry to get better. Go Warriors, our way. See you when I see you.